Hang on, we're getting there. We're getting there. It's preparing the stream. Bon. We got Matt Lavoisière coming in too. Here we go. Co-host. Luco, yeah, everybody's co-host now?
I think so.
Good.
Yeah, I see that.
Perfect. So if you guys have, si vous avez des écrans à partager, if you have any screens you want to share, you can share your screens automatically. Did I put it?
Bonsoir.
Yep. Bonsoir, Marc. Comment ça va?
Ça va bien?
Bien, bien, bien. Justement. Bienvenue tout le monde. Sorry, guys. It took a little while. There was technical difficulties getting started here, but we're all broadcasting on YouTube again. And pour ceux qui veulent savoir, ça va être la dernière live stream de l'année 2023. After this, we'll be seeing each other in 2024. I just need to get, so those who want to share on, or I should say, use the chat from the YouTube content live.
I'll get back in a few minutes.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, testing 1, 2. I'm back. Do you guys hear me?
Yeah, Mark's back. Everybody's back now.
Yeah.
Just need to go to the how come I lost my manager?
What do you mean, your pilot thing there?
No, because on the
Moderator.
on the studio, unless they've updated. Okay, anyway, it doesn't really matter. Let me see the other one. Does it have the share link? YouTube. Yes, it does. Copy that. Click. Parfait. So, guys, how's everybody doing? Comment ça va tout le monde?
Ça
Ça
va
va très
bien?
bien.
Ça va bien?
Ouais.
Oui.
Oui, ça va très
Merveilleux.
bien.
Good. So for Yuko was here last time, Mark was here last time. Uncle Bob is in for the first time in a Zoom session with us. Fantastic. Welcome, Uncle Bob. And Max, ça fait un bout de temps qu'on t'a pas vu non plus. So let's start with I wanted to talk about exposure, but before we get into that topic of the evening, and as far as exposure, c'était plutôt pour savoir quel mode d'exposition que vous utilisez avec vos appareils photo, qu'est-ce que vous préférez, et puis aussi je voulais parler de qu'est-ce que vous préférez de faire, de surexposer, sous-exposer, pourquoi, pour ceux qui font de l'argentique ou pour ceux qui font de le numérique. I wanted to just get a little, idea of how everybody uses their light meters on their cameras. But before we do that, let's continue from last week, since we have Mark and Uncle Bob with us. Tell us, did you guys? So let's start. Let's start with Uncle Bob. Did you have any projects that you had for 2023, photography projects, or anything that you precisely did?
Nothing special. It was a pretty bad year for me. So I didn't do much project stuff, but I'm getting back into it. Slowly. I bought a few new cameras. So I'd say the fun of getting back into developing and du noir et blanc, de la couleur, toute la patente, ça me revient tranquillement. But I didn't have any project per se this year. Next year, I hope to, join into a lot of stuff you guys are doing. So ça va être la fun too.
That's true. You and Nicholas have both become members of le club de photo de Rivière-des-Prairies avec Marc, puis avec Luco.
Ça doit, oui, hein, Luco? Ça doit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We have somebody knocking on the door here. Elena's coming in.
Ah, c'est bon.
Here we go. Welcome, Elena. Her audio's connecting. Great. See, do you have any projects for the new year?
Yeah, I want to make a bulk loader, fill a bulk loader so I can start shooting 12 exposures and things like that, 12, 16 exposures, des affaires de même. Et les développer assez vite parce que, tu sais, ma petite fille me demande quand je prends une photo, when can I see it?
And what's the average time right now?
Right now, it's 3 weeks.
It's better than me.
C'est ça, tu sais. But ben, c'est parce que j'essaie d'accumuler, tu sais, j'accumule 7, 8 films before I develop them, so tu sais, not to waste the chemicals because they go bad fast
And
enough.
you shoot mainly 35, 120?
35 and 120. I shoot generally 400 HP5.
Okay.
And en couleur, ben, du Fuji color I've been shooting these days, the Fuji color Superia.
Okay.
Et ça va bien, mais là, j'ai une coupe de 120 this year, no?
Okay, the gold?
The gold, yeah, gold 200. So j'essaie ça. Ça va bien. I'm still shooting digital when I have to have the results right away.
Okay.
But otherwise things. I just bought this beautiful Nikon FE mint condition with 4 lenses, 230 pièces. And
Nice.
it really, c'est une belle appareil, des beaux lentilles, sont toutes clean, c'est tout super.
Oh yeah, I saw them today. They're beautiful
Yeah, they're
cameras.
really beautiful.
Or, beautiful lenses. I mean, beautiful camera, but beautiful lenses too.
Yeah, j'ai hâte à jouer avec ça, tu sais.
Yeah. Fantastic.
That's about it. That's about my projects for now. And, I go day by day because, life changes very fast.
Oh yes, definitely. Absolutely. Marc, ça fait un bout de temps qu'on s'est pas vu. What do you have to tell us about the past year?
Je pense que tu vas
Which
nous-
Mark?
You, Mark.
Which one?
Marc Laboisière.
Oh, I thought it was Mark. The other one. Well, it's been very quiet for me. I just did one pictures. I think I showed it to Marc Allery,
Okay.
Le Moulin Légaré.
Oh, nice.
The one I put on the Facebook group.
On the Facebook group?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's pretty much.
And
No.
what about for next year? Do you have any projects coming up next year?
Trying to get more active. That's it.
Yeah. In more fine art or
Whatever.
where am I?
More active. Whatever.
Okay. Fantastic. Actually, I've kind of made a little I myself have decided not to for at least 2024 2025 to step away from the contract photography, the event photography, and work more on my stuff, c'est-à-dire fine art photography, and stop putting all my projects on the back burner. So I decided to use my time, my off time from work, literally to spend also more time with my own family, but also to get myself back on track with the photography. And I've got, I don't know, last week if you guys saw, or last episode, but if I move my head just a little, so all that is been accumulating to be developed since this summer. So I want to get back on track with all of that too. And yeah. What about so let's go straight into the main topic to close off this year. I was curious to know from everybody, what exposure mode do you guys prefer using? Either if you're and are you shooting film, or are you shooting digital, and do you have a preference in either or type of photography? I'm just gonna go in the order of who's on my screen right here.
Start with Uncle Bob.
Top left. Well, top left is exactly Uncle Bob.
Okay,
So-
then.
Well, he's on top right for me.
There-
Okay,
oh,
okay, I'm in
Top
the
left
middle.
is you,
Okay.
AJ.
top left is me. Okay, well,
Yeah.
I got top left over here is Uncle Bob, so we'll go straight with Uncle Bob.
Okay. I prefer shooting the film.
Yeah.
When I shoot film, though, I usually use manual most of the time, but I do shoot with a meter, a hand meter sometimes.
Okay.
And depending on which camera I'm using, some of the meters work, some of the meters don't work. So see,
And which hand meter is it that you're using?
I'm using a Gaussian Luna 6,
Okay.
and I'm using also a phone, on the cell
Phone app. Yeah.
Yeah, phone app too, and I don't have access to the Luna 6, but I usually check them because these old meters, if you put a stronger voltage battery, it changes the way it reads.
Okay.
Sometimes half a stop, sometimes 3 stops, sometimes
Right.
2 stops, depending on what it's doing. So to joue en dessous with
And the Luna 6 is a needle. It's an analog meter, right? It's not a digital meter.
it's an analog meter. Yeah.
Okay.
Analog meter. It was one of the best of its time.
Yeah.
You can even have a spot meter on, an attachment to make it a spot meter and all these things here. So no, it's
Right.
And like I said, that's what I prefer. When I do digital,
Mm-hmm.
I either use it manually or I use program mode.
Oh, really?
Yeah, one
Okay.
of the two. Once in a while, I'll use the A or the shutter speed, the aperture shutter speed. But mainly, if I'm going to use that, I'll use the manual.
Okay.
And and if I don't have time, well, then I put it on P program, and I already preset what I want,
Right. Right.
and I work with that.
Okay.
But besides that, no problem. I usually shoot color with the digital and black and white with the advanced.
Okay. And when it comes to crap, I just lost the question. Hold on. When it comes to your photography, what's more important for you, shutter speed or aperture?
Depends on the scene.
Okay.
Depends on the scene. If I'm going to look for portraits, aperture is more important.
Yeah.
If I'm going to look for so the street photography,
Right.
I would go more a little bit with the speed.
Okay.
In between those two things, well, it depends on the actual scene that I have in front of me.
Okay.
Depending on what I want to emphasize or focus on or stuff like that.
And talking about street photography, you said speed, and how do you choose which, like, is there a special way for you to choose your shutter speed that you're looking for, or is it just
well, on street photography, usually I use a high ISO,
yeah,
so that I can shoot at 125 or faster.
okay,
so I can also have an f8, an f11, or an f16.
okay,
You know what I mean? I try to balance out those things there, because naturally you want to have enough in focus, unless you zoom into someone's face or someone looking in a window or quelque chose de même, let's say, specific. Then I'll go more with the aperture.
But just again, to go back to your shutter speed, your sweet spot is 1/25th of a second on stop and sync?
Most of the time, yeah. Most of
Okay.
the time. Because I usually shoot, even in the digital, I usually shoot 400 ISO,
Okay.
unless I really need that extra ISO.
Right.
But I usually shoot 400, and 125 works good with a lot of f-stops. See?
Okay.
Sometimes I have to go a little higher because the sun is too strong or something like that. But
Okay.
so I play it by ear, and I try to set up the photograph before,
Right.
So,
And I know, and I'm being my uncle, I know when you were shooting back in the day, when it was still available, you shot a lot of slide.
Yeah.
Now you're shooting mainly only negative, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You ever think of going back to slide?
And if they bring back Kodachrome, I'm going to go back to slide for sure. But Ektachrome and Fujichrome, they're good, but
Okay.
they're not exactly what I'm looking for. I like the warm colors of Kodachrome.
Okay.
You know, like Paul Simon says in his song, you know.
Right. Fantastic. See, thank you.
No problem.
How about Mark Alary? What mode of exposure do you use? Do you have a preference of overexpose? Oh, I will come back to Uncle Bob in a minute.
Yeah,
I
okay, no
forgot
problem.
to ask that part of the question.
Mhm.
Do you prefer overexposing or underexposing, and when do you over and underexpose?
I tend
Uncle
to
Bob.
use.
No, Uncle Bob.
Uncle Bob?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay. I naturally I prefer as much as possible to get the right exposure.
Right.
But sometimes certain scenes need to be overexposed because I'm focusing more on the shadows than I'm focusing on the bright spots.
Okay.
So then I would overexpose by up to a stop and a half.
Okay.
Rarely do I want to underexpose because on negatives, underexposure isn't a great thing.
Okay.
You happen to lose a lot of detail when you underexpose on a negative. On a positive, it's good to underexpose.
Right.
But on a negative, it's better to overexpose.
So when you shoot digital, do you tend to underexpose?
Digital, I tend to underexpose by 1/3 of a stop. And that's like a general rule on the camera. And then I look, you know, if I see it's too much, well, I'll go back to 0 or I'll go back to plus a quarter, or, you know, but generally my camera is set at 0.3 under.
Okay.
You know, so
fantastic. Okay, good, great. Mark Alary.
Yes, sir. Hello.
What's your preference in exposure?
I tend to underexpose. I use digital most of the time, and I'm on manual.
And you're on manual, yeah?
Yeah, I don't know why I started that way, and I can never get into the other modes.
Okay.
It's like I'm not working with my camera. So
absolutely,
it's my impression, things like that. So I tend to underexpose, like we call Uncle Bob there.
Yeah.
Le surnom connu.
Ouais,
Mais c'est à peu près ça, là. C'est que ça permet que si moindrement je dois aller chercher certains détails, mais là, ça me permet d'aller les chercher si malheureusement, là, il y a trop de lumière ou n'importe quoi, mais je peux jouer après ça pour aller chercher qu'est-ce que j'ai de besoin.
OK. Puis quelle sorte de photographie que vous faites que tu es toujours en mode manuel?
Ben, écoute, c'est pas mal tout, là, c'est sûr. Là, j'entends Bob parler de lui, sa vitesse préférée, c'est 125. Moi, j'aime aller chercher les oiseaux, les animaux, n'importe quoi. Et étant donné la nature on peut pas prédire où ce qu'ils vont ou qu'est-ce qu'ils vont faire, je suis porté à monter ma vitesse le plus haut possible pour essayer de geler l'image en cas que l'animal réagit d'une manière ou d'une autre.
Ben oui, ben oui.
Okay.
Can I ask what ISO you use, Mark?
Ah, écoute, j'ai déjà monté à 1200, puis tout ça, quand je faisais des faucons. J'ai eu une chance d'avoir des faucons dans un coin, puis même là, il aurait peut-être fallu, là, j'utilisais une Tamron 150-600, puis il aurait fallu que je pousse ça encore un petit peu plus parce que j'avais un petit peu de flou, là, étant donné que c'était un peu plus noir à l'extérieur.
Ouais. OK.
Actually, you guys will be surprised. Ce soir, ce soir avant tout ça, j'ai amené mon fils faire du ski de nuit ici à Mont-Saint-Bruno. Puis j'avais ma 200-600 avec moi. Believe it or not, I was at 51,200 ISO.
Ouch.
I swear to God, I was at 51,200 ISO. And see, it wasn't that bad. It really wasn't that bad.
Good. You're talking to a guy who used to shoot at 25 and 64.
I know, I know. But the digital photography is so much different from film photography.
I agree.
In that, and literally in digital photography, there is no such thing as grain. It's a digital noise, and the beautiful thing about digital photography is, and I know there's people cringing behind their screens watching this when I say this, but even for the noise that the camera creates, and I only looked at the shots, the JPEGs, directly in the camera so far, and I mean, yeah, they're noisy, but with the technologies that the software's technologies that have been introduced in the last 6 months, it's amazing what we can, how we can deal with that noise. It's the second time that I've used my camera, and I've had it since 2018 at 51,000. The last time was like 3 years ago when Abby was doing her horseback riding class in the Centre d'Equestre over here in St. Julie, where I was at 40,000 ISO. And it is really impressive what you can do with the digital sensors at those ISOs. Seriously.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. I've never shot higher than 800 on digital yet.
Okay.
ISO.
Your Z, by the way, your Z6
Yeah.
can easily, you can shoot at 6400 and not have any noise.
Oh yeah, no, I would imagine. I would imagine. It's just that I'm used to reading the light, you know.
Right.
Sometimes I use the meter, sometimes I don't. So I'm used to reading the light for about ISO 800.
Okay.
C'est plus ou moins, tu sais. So, and I take a chance, then I look at the screen and I say, okay, I could go a little lighter, a little darker, etc., etc. Because I shoot a lot in manual. So,
Right.
you know.
And the other thing is also is that I've noticed with digital, in my experience with digital compared to analog, is that remember, an uncle will remember this rule. Remember the rule of thumb that we would never shoot a shutter speed over 1 over our focal length.
Yeah, that's an old. Yeah, that's
an old one.
Yeah,
and I mean that was for your 200, your 400, your 800 ISOs.
Yeah.
That rule actually is still used today in digital photography when using the auto ISO.
Yeah.
And the problem with that rule is it's not fast enough for the digital sensors.
Yeah, but that
Because
rule,
because it's still the movement is, it's not freezing the enough motion. So what I've come to do is I've doubled the rule. So if I'm shooting at 600 millimeters, I try to at least hit 1/1000th to 1/1250th of a second or
Yeah.
more.
yeah, no, I
You
understand.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And because evidently what happens is when you and I mean you'll
Well,
confirm it.
your
When
movement is
you-
magnified.
Well, it's not faster, it's just more apparent.
Yeah, exactly, because of the
Right.
focal length. Yeah.
Exactly. So and like I said, that was the only reason tonight I was at was
Yeah,
I
it's
at 51,200 ISO.
Yeah.
And I was only when Logan fell into the, you're on a snow hill, a ski hill. I mean, t'as les rayons de lumière from the lamps.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, when he was in the shadow, I mean, it was finished. It was
Yeah.
gone. It was,
Don't forget though, this rule was made before the invention of tripods.
yes, absolutely. It's for handheld.
I know.
And also, I know I'm going to have that other side who's going to say, yeah, but we have stabilizers on our cameras. I said, but I want you got to, that's one thing for those people. Understand that a stabilizer stabilizes your movement. It doesn't stabilize the movement of
the
subject
what
at
you're
the other
shooting.
end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right? Because you're in contact with the camera.
Yeah.
Milena, how are you tonight?
She's gonna have to
Good.
remove. Okay.
How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for showing up for tonight. Is the last one of the year.
Oh,
Yeah.
so
The next one's going to be in
professional.
2024.
That's right.
So you tell me, what exposure mode do you use, and what types of exposures do you prefer?
I don't know. I don't understand what you're talking about, these exposure modes. Like there was talk on the street that if I want to become a professional photographer, I just have to put my camera in automatic.
And who told you that?
As a matter of fact, there are a few influencers on Facebook who are running, and it literally it cringes my teeth. It grinds my teeth when I hear these things on the internet, with people saying that to become a professional photographer, slap it in auto mode and you'll be able to pull off the same shots that a seasoned photographer who's been learning the trade and mastering the trade.
It's so downgrading.
It's ridiculous. It's truly ridiculous.
Yeah, well,
And you know, the thing that bugs me is when I see these professional photographers using their iPhone and saying,
well, it's true. Yeah,
see,
I use an iPhone. Well, it's good as a backup. I don't know.
oh, wait, as a backup, it's good. Oh, c'est vrai.
In any case, yeah, well, exposure modes, obviously, I can't use automatic in what I'm trying to do. And when I first started toying with exposure modes is when I wanted to photograph the moon. That's the first thing I wanted to do. And obviously, you can't put that in automatic to do that. And so the first time I tried to photograph the moon, it was handheld.
Okay.
Quickly learned that I needed a pretty fast shutter speed not to get the blur in my
Right.
image. And I also learned that I needed to have a pretty small aperture when it's a full moon.
Yeah.
So maybe like f8, f11, anything
Well,
above that.
you can always go with the rule, the Sunny 16 rule, because the way that I explain the moon is easy. What's lighting the moon?
The sun.
Technically, it's the sun, right? So even though it's nighttime here, on the moon, it's actually daytime.
Right.
So to be able to capture those details on the moon, and it's more than just capturing, like tonight, just a crescent, a white crescent on a dark background. You want to get those les marées, you know, the oceans. You want to get the craters. You want to get the mountains. But it's also, don't forget that the moon is already at infinity,
Right.
and the moon is a globe. So if you do your focus on the face of the moon, your edges are going to blur out. So you should be shooting the moon.
Okay.
Absolutely, you should be shooting the moon definitely at f8 and smaller. So f8, f11, f16. And again, the rule of thumb, and Uncle Bob can confirm or deny. It's up to him.
Okay.
I still use the Sunny 16 rule, which is basically 1 over my ISO when I'm at f16 in broad daylight. And for the moon, it works perfectly. And
Yeah,
actually, even with the moon, I'll even just overexpose it by 1 stop.
Okay.
Yeah. See, you're gonna say?
Well, the Sunny 16 works very good for the moon. I don't know about the overexposure, depending on what film you're using, or what digital. If you're using
Yeah,
digital,
I use digital for the moon at this point.
yeah, I would underexpose more than overexpose, but that's just me.
But it's
I
because the moon
noticed,
comes out very dark.
Yes, my
No, I
shots are
understand.
usually underexposed. And
Yeah, no, but then you do post work on it, then you should be able to bring it up. Whereas,
Yeah.
you know, if you have it overexposed on digital, you'll have trouble bringing it down.
True. True.
You know,
okay, right. Or sometimes I try, I have like a bracketing setting.
Yeah.
yeah, that's good. Yeah,
Overexposed or underexposed by either a third of
Yeah,
a stop or 1 stop.
So Melinda,
Right.
you do mostly night photography?
Well, I started with that. I mean,
Okay.
'cause, I had this astronomy interest and I wanted to photograph the moon or start photographing planets. So I started toying with that. And that's what I know about exposure settings besides like taking a portrait. I get if I want to take a portrait of a person in a room, I'm assuming I need like a larger aperture.
Yeah.
Or like a smaller depth of field
Exactly.
yeah, exactly.
So I'm actually in the process of learning all these other scenarios, but otherwise I'm mostly toying with exposure when I do moon
You're
photography.
you're learning them through school, or you're learning them through a photo club, or
Self-teaching and
oh, okay.
School of AJ and
School of AJ.
and Club Photo RDP
Yeah,
and yeah, Google, YouTube and whatnot.
Okay.
And I mean, yeah, I just heard about this with a Sunny 16. there's so many possibilities, right? There's for aperture ISO, this and that. I'm trying to understand the math or the physics, the formula that I want.
Well,
Believe me, you don't have to concentrate on the math.
no.
Just visually. That's all. It's because, you know, yes, there's science involved in photography, and it's the physics of optics and the physics of light, but you don't have to be that precise. You know,
No.
photography is, as a base, it's art,
That's
right?
And you have to
Right.
remember the pictures what you want.
Yes,
Picture, right?
You know, it's the shot you want. It's the
exactly.
rest is technical.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
here, like, we're 6 people here in this Zoom, and we all see differently.
Absolutely.
Our perceptions are all different for sure.
Exactly. And photography is subjective. It's not objective, it's subjective. It's
Yeah.
what you saw, how you saw it, with what you saw it.
Yeah.
Right.
And what you wanted to say about it.
Exactly. It's your interpretation,
Right. We
right?
don't want perfection, we want excellence.
That's you got it. That's it. That's the one. Fantastic, Milena. Great. How about you, Luco? Tell me about what exposure modes you use when doing digital and film, and what your preferences are, overexposing, underexposing, and why.
Je te dirais que même avec même avec à faire du film ces temps-ci, je suis très aperture priority. J'étais très aperture priority sur le numérique, je le suis encore. Donc, moi, j'aime bien gérer justement ma profondeur de champ. Puis souvent aussi, dans le genre de photos que je fais du paysage, le street, j'ai pas besoin de grosses vitesses, comme par exemple quand Marc parlait de l'animalier ou quand tu parlais justement des photos de sport, des trucs comme ça. Fait que je suis principalement en aperture priority.
Okay.
Un peu de manuel, surtout en argentique, parce que souvent c'est un peu plus simple d'être en manual mode fully than aperture priority ou even shutter priority.
Right.
Mais en numérique, c'est très rare. Je vais laisser l'auto-ISO faire la job, mais une chose que je vais contrôler, c'est mon aperture.
Okay. Good.
Anyway.
And as far as overexposing, surexposé, sous-exposé,
It depends. It depends. C'est pas la première fois que j'entends parler justement de toujours un peu sous-exposé en numérique, justement, vu que c'est facile d'aller chercher des détails, des trucs comme ça. Fait
ouais.
que ça dépend du mood. Je te dirais, quand tu dis que c'est la partie qui est, tu wing it un peu, tu y vas comment tu feels, ben, ça aussi, j'y vais un peu comment je feel.
Okay.
Dépend des besoins. Ben, tu sais, en numérique, ça se fait tellement bien. Corriger un petit peu de trop on s'entend là, il y a des limites, mais un petit peu trop surexposition, un peu trop de sous-exposition, ça se corrige quand même bien
C'est
dans
ça.
le logiciel. Fait que pour ça, je n'ai pas vraiment de préférence là-dessus à comparer à moi qui suis tout le temps en aperture parking.
Okay, good. Great. On passe le micro à Marc Labroisière. Sir, what exposure modes do you use, and what are your preferences?
Okay, mostly on manual.
Okay.
Manual. Je fais de l'animalier beaucoup. Ben, j'en
Okay.
faisais, là. J'ai comme slacké sur la photo, là.
Okay.
Et puis, peut-être pour un sujet plus tard, là, je suis en train de merger de Lightroom à Capture One.
Ah ouais? Ah
Ouais,
ouais?
ouais. Hey, à 180 $ par année pour Lightroom.
180.
Ouais,
Ah ouais, OK.
ouais,
Ouais.
179. Tandis que Capture One, t'as une licence perpétuelle.
Ouais, mais faut
Donc, tu
que
payes une
t'achètes les mises
fois.
à jour.
Ben, tant que ton hardware il est supporté par
Ton logiciel, t'as raison, t'as
par
pas
le
besoin.
logiciel, tu n'as pas besoin.
That's true. That's true.
Donc là, ça coûte 240 US,
OK.
puis je peux l'avoir pendant 10 ans, là.
Tant que vous changez pas les équipements.
C'est ça.
OK. Puis c'est quoi
Mais
la mise à jour maintenant? C'est rendu quoi? 2/3 du prix?
20,
Ouais?
je sais pas.
OK.
Je sais pas. Fait que là, puis là, Capture One Express, il est fini à fin janvier, là.
Ah, il n'y en a plus?
Non, il l'enlève.
Oui,
Ah ben,
on a ça littéralement cette semaine.
Faut passer à la pro,
OK.
puis sur versement, comme Lightroom.
Then they must have lost the partnership they used to have with the different camera companies.
Là, il restait juste Nikon.
Ah, il reste encore Nikon avec
C'est ça, ouais.
Capture One?
Sony, Canon, ils l'ont enlevé.
OK.
pour la Capture One Express, là.
Ouais.
Fait que c'est ça. Mais pour les modes d'exposure, généralement manuel.
OK.
J'ai comme passé d'auto à manuel straight, là.
OK. Great.
Puis quand je faisais un petit peu d'événementiel, là, j'allais avec un light meter là aussi, là,
Ah ouais?
pour setter les flashs puis tout ça.
OK. L'événementiel, tu avais des flashs studio?
Ouais,
Ah, OK.
c'est les PD 180 de
Ah bon.
ProMaster.
Ouais. OK. Nice.
Ouais.
For me, exposure, I'll tell you straight out, I'm about 60% manual, 40% aperture priority. For those who are Canon, it would be the AV, aperture value, because, Canon's got to rewrite the Bible. It's always been my observation.
Beta and VHS is Canon and Nikon.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. But yeah, so normally I'm 60% manual, 40% in aperture, but believe it or not, even when I'm working in manual mode, in my head, I've always been aperture priority, in the sense that my depth of field is primordial to my composition. I choose the depth of field before anything else, and then I decide which shutter speed through what focal length I'm using. And I'm usually and as we were talking before, film, I would be 1 over my focal length and higher. And I'll tell you why. Because what I've noticed in the years that I've been teaching recently teaching in the last 10 years, specifically when it comes to wildlife photography and sports photography, if you force the shutter speed too high, and don't forget, intermediate amateur cameras usually stop at 1/400th of a second, 1/4000th of a second, while the expert cameras usually shoot 1/8000th, and now in the last 2 years with the electronic shutters have been able to attain 1/32,000th and 1/40,000th of a second. Sorry. And the entry-level cameras only shoot up to 1/2000th of a second. What happens is, if you force the ISO too high too fast, you're hitting the ceiling of your shutter speed. So what'll happen is, the moment that you end up pointing in a bright scene, right, as you're following your subject, you're topping out at that ceiling, and you're actually overexposing your picture. And you wouldn't believe how many people come back to me and say, I don't understand, why is my photo, I mean,
Underexposed. You're underexposed.
You know what I'm saying? Why am I blowing out the whites in my snowy owl when I don't understand? I was just at 1/2000th of a second. Well, the problem is first of all, a snowy owl doesn't need a 2000th of a second to be frozen. You can easily, because most of the time they're gliding, right? And it's evidently it's a white background, a white foreground, and it's a white subject. So you're always usually shooting somewhere between +1 and +1.7, right? So you're basically always topping out at that ceiling shutter speed. So by trying to regulate my shutter speed to the more medium shutter speeds, I'm never overexposing, even if I get into a situation where I'm shooting into the sun. It's something that I've observed with all the classes that I've given. Go ahead and see.
I would say in general, everything boils down to your aperture first. I mean, even me, when I use 1/25th of a second, my next step is aperture.
Okay.
And the aperture goes with what I want for the picture, depth of field wise.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what I mean? It's I'd say in general, most of people have to use aperture.
Yeah.
To get the product they want, the finished product they want. So you know what I mean? And if you're doing sports or animals, like Matt is saying, you have to be more precise in your focus
Yes.
because
Absolutely.
you're at a higher speed, and if the lighting conditions are so, you know, you have to compensate with being more precise in your focusing.
And one of the reasons why I stay away from shutter priority or time value is because what happens in that particular semi-automatic mode is because you've frozen the ISO, because you've frozen the shutter speed, well, it's playing with the aperture.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
You're expecting one look, and then you get the picture, and it's not the look you were looking for.
Exactly.
Because
exactly.
you know it went down to f4, and when you wanted to stick around in f11, you know.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, see, that's why I like manual the most.
Okay.
Because
It's just that when you're following subjects, for me, I'm too slow. I'm too slow to adjust my shutter speed while I'm following my daughter on her horse at gallop.
Yeah,
By
but
leaving it on aperture priority.
If you're following in a gallop and you're in a reasonable, even if you're 1/25th of a second or even 2/50th of a second, you're going to get some motion.
Oh no, absolutely. I'm not saying yeah.
And your follow is going to make you know, not a big blur background, but it's going to make a slightly blurred background. Naturally, if you're at 1/30th of a second, then you'll have a nice, you know, clear horse and a background that's so.
But it's more when I like for her, because what happens a lot of times is that she runs through a shadow and then into the sunlight and then through a shadow and then into a sunlight. So I get lazy and I don't want to play with my shutter speed. I let the camera do it. I just tell the camera, this is the minimum shutter speed I want you to use. And the maximum is this with the ISO. You know what I mean? And for those of you who are using ISO automatic ISOs, something I want you to just realize is that when you're in automatic ISO, the base, it's looking for 1 over whatever focal length. So when you're turning your zoom and you hit 400th of a second, 400 millimeters, it shifts your ISO up when it falls under 1/400th of a second. That's not enough for digital photography. For digital photography, you'll see that in the last 2 years, the automatic mode, you have levels. So you can ask the camera to search d'après ton whatever focal length you choose, d'après le zoom que vous choisissez, va chercher 2 crans de plus de ton focal. So at 400, look for 1/800th of a second and more, or 3 stops. What is it? No, sorry, it's 1 stop, 2 stops, and I believe the Canons go up to 3 stops above whatever focal length you're using, just so that you know, and that'll bring you more closer to a better frozen image. And those, I think, have only been adjusted on the mirrorless cameras, the most recent mirrorless cameras. I'm not sure about the 5D Mark Lavoisière. You have a 5D Mark IV, no?
No, I got a D800 Nikon.
Oh, you're Nikon. That's right. The D800. You'd have to check.
The other than 10.
Sorry.
D810.
Oh, the 810. Well, then I would check the 810 because the 810 might have a variable automatic adjustment.
Yep, I can limit
That's it, exactly.
the range of the auto ISO.
C'est ça, exactement.
And I also have a 9-frame bracket.
9-frame bracketing, you mean?
Yeah.
In exposure?
If I want, a third of a step for 9 pictures.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think the increments are 1/3 of a f.
Well, I can go one full stop if I want.
Yeah, if you want. Okay.
So I can go on 9 frame on the bracketing.
And have you? I honestly, I always choose either the 1 frame. The 1 frame, the 1 stop, or the 1.5 or 1 2/3 stop. And I always found that the 1/3 stop, there's not enough difference between the thirds of a stop versus 1 stops.
On 9 frames, it starts to have a difference. So it's more precise. It's more precise.
Yeah, but it's more precise, exactly.
But you'll see the difference, Andrew, in the shadows.
Will you?
You should.
At a third of a stop.
At a certain shot, you should see the difference in the shadows. You should have a slightly more detail in the shadows than you had when it's, you know, at the regular thing.
But I've also learned with the digital photography that you have so much more information in the shadows than you'll ever end up keeping in the highlights.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
I've actually underexposed -4,
Yeah.
okay, on a coucher de soleil, on a sunset,
Yeah.
just to be able to capture the rays of sun behind the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
And honest to God, that the whole avant-plan, the whole foreground, I added a +4 in post-processing,
Yeah.
and it was the exact image that I saw.
Yeah.
I was so blown away by, and it goes to show it for me. It went to show me that our visual system between this computer and these sensors,
Yeah, for sure.
compared to any computer, it's
We have
marvelous.
latitude au bout, this thing,
Ben oui,
you know, for sure.
ça se compare pas. Okay? And the whole notion that what the camera captures is what you saw. Well, I'm sorry, I don't see like a camera.
No.
I don't have a shutter in front of my eye.
No, but you get close enough, and honestly, I love film, but digital gets even a little closer.
Does it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, because you can manipulate it a little more.
Okay. Yeah, but don't forget, when I did darkroom, I was really young when I did darkroom. So I cannot wait to get my darkroom started back here, because I truly want to go back to the process of developing.
Well,
Not only to see after 30 seconds that image come out of the paper
it's
in the
beautiful.
chemicals.
It's beautiful.
It's
I agree.
it's magic,
It is.
right?
But the truth is that the manipulation part of developing
Yeah.
is limited compared to what we have today in the logiciel. Because if you if you want to get the perfect black and white, or the perfect, even harder, the perfect color,
Yeah.
you're gonna pass a lot of paper.
Oh, absolutely.
It's one apple.
Absolutely. Well, wait. So,
You know, because to get the color tones right, to get the exposure.
but I'll be honest with you. Those first 2 years that I started printing here,
Yeah.
Sarah wanted to kill me.
Mhm.
Okay, because as much as I was buying paper, bringing paper in, I was throwing paper out.
Absolutely.
It literally took me, I wouldn't say 24 months, but it took me a 2-year span to figure out, because don't forget, digital photography, when you print, we're doing everything on a lit screen that's backlit. And in the darkroom, you only had the paper as a reference. You didn't have, you had the negative, obviously, right? But you had the memory, or this is the way I see it, is that you had the memory of what you had seen when you shot the image, and you just had that paper as your reference. Here we have a screen that we try to transfer onto a reflective surface that is not backlit, and it just adds that extra, I find it adds an extra level of confusion for such a long time, because the quality of a screen and the quality of a print are they just don't, there's no match, even with calibrators and even with
No, je comprends. But at the same time, don't forget, when you're in a dark room, you have light passing through a negative.
right.
Okay? By the time it gets to the paper, there's already been a diminution, and surtout la grandeur, you know,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
you're further away from the paper.
Right.
Usually when I would the darkroom, and I did a lot of darkroom, you would make a test shot, and that test shot would be, you put one paper down and you would take something to do, you know, 30 seconds here,
Yeah. Mask.
5 seconds here,
That's right.
20 seconds here, et cetera, and you'd have a strip across the photograph.
Right.
Okay, in color, that was very hard, because that was giving you the exposure, but it wasn't giving you the colors.
Oh.
See, it was, you would have a colored picture, but I mean, it wasn't necessarily the right colors that you took.
Right.
And what you had to do is do that. Once you had your exposure and says, okay, 30 seconds expose is good, then you had to play with the filters.
Right.
To get to the color that you remember you saw.
Okay.
So that was another process, you know what I mean? Whereas now today on the screen, c'est vrai que, listen, I have a 2-screen computer. This screen here happens to be a little bit lighter than that screen when
Right,
I'm doing
right.
photos. And, you know, sometimes I like looking better at the photo on that screen than this screen. But when you get to print it, that's when you know, that's when you're going to see what you did, you know?
Now, you actually processed color prints
Yeah.
back in the day.
Yeah.
How different was that process from the black and white? Because did you not have to, how did you, I mean, was it an actual color image coming through the paper while it was in the developer?
Yeah, yeah, it would come up color.
Oh, really?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah, it would come up color.
But I always thought you had to pass it through the red, the blue, the...
No, that's only when you're adjusting the colors. So you do a shot,
Right.
okay, and you print it. And like I said, if you had the right exposure,
Okay.
then you would correct it with your filters, your color filters.
Okay.
If you need a little bit more red or you need a little bit more blue or whatever, that's when you would have you'd have to play with the filters. But if it was really a perfectly taken shot, a perfectly exposed shot on the paper, you didn't have that much to do.
Okay.
You know, and it did come up. And then the other thing was how long you left it in the developer.
Okay.
You know, like in black and white, same thing. If you leave it too long, you know.
And you also process Cibachrome.
Cibachrome, completely different process. It's taking a slide,
right,
processing it on paper, passing it the chemicals in a drum.
Okay.
That drum had to always be moving all the time, and ultimately at the end there were, if I remember right, there were 4 chemicals.
Okay.
And ultimately, in the end, you would come out with this super glossy paper with a beautiful print. In fact, I have a few here, based on your on your slide.
Okay.
You know, and it's not 100% like the slide. The slide is hard to beat. You know.
Okay.
But you would get nice stuff, though. You would get nice stuff. So,
nice. And how did it compare to C41 to the color negative?
How did it compare? In what sense?
Color saturations, contrasts.
Well, Cibachrome was a little bit more contrasty.
Okay.
Than C41, and even then the slide.
Okay.
You know, I still maintain the nicest slide film that ever existed was Kodachrome.
Yeah.
You know, balanced color, warm colors, etc., etc., etc. And it was hard. It was hard to keep that when you made a Cibachrome print from it. I mean, ça se faisait, but you know,
yeah,
it's hard to do it. See?
Are there any here who have developed film in a dark room? Prints,
Nope.
I should say.
I'm still waiting for my opportunity to do so.
Ooh. Some good shade is being thrown right now. Good.
Believe me, Milena, it's coming. Don't worry. I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Yeah, so you know.
That's a little Marc, I saw you raise your hand before Marc Alary.
Wait.
Oh, me, I haven't.
Oh, no, but I saw Marc Alary raise his hand.
Oh, okay.
Oui, j'ai eu le plaisir de faire une session au Cégep Vanier. C'est
OK.
là que j'ai été exposé à la photographie là, au début de ma vie.
OK.
Alors, malheureusement, mais quand on n'avait pas les moyens, quand on était jeune, de s'équiper, d'avoir les films, d'avoir une place pour les développer, pour les imprimer, mais malheureusement, aussitôt que j'ai lâché le Cégep, puis j'ai commencé à travailler, mais ça a été mis de côté.
Ah, mais toi, tu l'as fait à l'école.
Oui.
OK.
C'était au Cégep.
OK.
Alors, on a appris, là, disons, toutes les petites procédures de faire sa photo, après ça, d'aller dans une chambre totalement noire où on transférait le film de la canisse jusqu'au spooling system. Là, je ne me souviens pas comment ça s'appelait, mais si on regarde en arrière de toi, tu as des drums là, qui sont
Ouais, des
rouges,
Patterson.
là, tout ça. Là, je ne me souviens pas comment ça s'appelait, mais en tout cas, on plaçait tout ça sur une petite table, là, les ciseaux à une certaine place, l'ouvre-bouteille à un autre, ta canisse, ton ton spool system, ta boîte d'une autre
C'est ça.
place, puis tu devais pratiquer ça avec la lumière avant de faire ça avec ton film, parce que lorsque tu étais dans le noir total, il fallait que tu saches où ce que tes ciseaux étaient, où ce que ton ouvre-bouteille pour ouvrir ta canisse était, puis tout ça. J'aimais beaucoup ça. De développer puis d'imprimer, mais comme vous avez dit, quand que tu commences à mettre ton papier dans la chimie, puis ça commence à apparaître, il y a une fierté là-dedans, là, c'est une réalisation.
Oh, yeah.
C'est pour ça que je riais quand que vous mentionniez ça, puis tout ça. Puis
And
c'était un
that's
plaisir.
that's the exact feeling I want my kids to have.
Yes,
To see
absolutely.
that image just appear out of nowhere, out of a white piece of paper.
Yeah.
It's magic. It really is
It's
magic.
like capturing a soul.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's one of my favorite photographic topics is portraits. I love portraits. I love doing portraits. I have a studio set up for portraits. J'adore ça faire des portraits because I try to go get the soul someplace.
Yeah, oh yeah. See,
I'm a bit curious.
Yeah, go ahead,
Sorry.
Melina.
Maybe it's off topic, but what is behind Marc Alary? A bit curious.
Ah,
what his
ça,
background-
je vous présente, c'est un mannequin que j'ai acheté pour à peu près 20 $ quand j'ai commencé à faire ma photographie numérique.
Okay.
Alors, c'était au lieu de te demander, toi, de devenir mon modèle, puis te faire attendre 1 heure, 1 heure et demie, tant que je place mes lumières, puis que j'ai l'exposition comme il faut. Mais j'ai acheté mon ami, puis lui, il est très, très, très patient. Alors,
Oui.
des fois, de temps en temps, je le sors, puis je le mets dans le background, puis ça fait parler le monde, là, puis tout le kit. Mais
Oui.
ça a été la meilleure affaire pour moi et j'ai appris à placer mes lumières pour mettre de l'ombrage sur une partie du visage.
Ouais,
Je
ouais,
ne suis pas quelqu'un qui bouge. Alors, quand on place sa lumière, mais là, on vient qu'à voir comment manipuler sa lumière pour quand on fait du studio. Tandis que si je fais un setup de mes flashs, puis là, la personne est en train d'attendre, puis elle bouge, puis elle se mange les ongles ou quelque chose comme ça, mais c'est plus difficile. Alors,
Ok.
aussi, c'est mon plaisir de le mettre dans le bas des marches. Lorsque ma femme rentre de travailler, elle fait tout le temps le saut quand elle arrive, puis en tout cas, c'est le running gag de la famille.
ouais, absolutely.
C'est cool.
Just Mark, so long as you don't start talking to it and it answers you back.
Yeah, it's when it answers back that I'm scared.
Yeah.
C'est ça.
Just in case this ever does go out on the podcast, for those of you who can't see or don't see the YouTube broadcast, there's a plastic mannequin right over Mark's left shoulder staring at us in the camera.
That's right.
This is what we're talking about.
Do they have female ones like that?
Yes, they do. But unfortunately, when I showed up to the guy where they were selling mannequins, and you come in with a request of saying, well, do you have a used mannequin I could buy for cheap because I don't want to buy the $200, the $500 models or something like that.
Yeah.
The guy came back after 15 minutes of going dans son entrepôt, and he came back with that one. He goes, well, I have that one for $20 if you want it. So that's the one I bought.
Not to digress too much, Mark, but do you have the arms for that thing, or?
No, I don't. That's why the price was $20, and that was it.
Okay.
And you can buy the ones that you can have at the dollar store where it's a head, a styrofoam.
That's what I have. Yeah.
I wanted a little more, say.
Right.
Sometimes what I'll do is I'll put a t-shirt on them or something like that, depending on what type of picture I want.
Yeah.
But if I want to do a test before some model shows up, and I have something particular in my mind, and I want to sort of preset the lights, I'll test it on him.
And the lights are continuous lighting, or since we're talking about exposure, it's continuous lighting or flash lighting?
Flash lighting for these ones, but
so you're using a light meter?
Yes, sir. The Spectronic, I believe.
Psychonic.
Psychonic. Sorry.
Yeah.
I know.
Wait, ça, c'est bon.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, good.
Incident light.
Yeah, so basically that's why I break them up once in a while. But like I say, I use them more as a joke nowadays than
In
than
our
anything
day, saying that I'm the oldest guy here. In our day, it was hit and miss because we couldn't see the damn lighting until the pictures were developed.
That's right. That's
You
right.
know, and unless you had a Hasselblad, which had a Polaroid back. But if you didn't have a Polaroid back, it was and you
See-
pray for the best. You know what I mean?
Did they have Polaroid backs for the 35 millimeters cameras? No,
No,
only for the 6x6.
only for the 6x6. Yeah,
Okay.
and really they were very expensive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had a Hasselblad at one point in my life. At that time, a Hasselblad was $800, and that was
Wow,
money.
okay.
So it was big money down though. And the Polaroid back was $300 and some dollars.
Really?
Yeah, whereas a normal back was like $125 too.
Okay.
So I think, but I mean, today with the digital, it's a lot easier because you can adjust your lighting as you're going along, and you know what I mean.
Oh yeah. And
It's
I get
like
a lot of
it's like
portrait. Sorry,
we
go
were
ahead.
talking, it's like we were talking this morning, Andrew, when I told you do a wedding with film.
Yeah.
You know, today they go, they take 1000 photos. Okay, I surely got some good pictures in there.
Right.
But when you do it with film, I used to shoot 10 rolls of 24s, which was
Yeah.
40 pictures, and hope for the best. You know, so you know what I mean? Because we didn't know until everything was finished.
And what was your batting average?
The batting average is that I didn't get any complaints because the people were used to looking at 100 pictures,
Right.
125 pictures as proofs.
Okay.
So they would choose an album of the 24 or an album of 12 or 18.
Okay.
Today it's not the same thing. Today people look at 1,000 pictures, and they make little books or they make stuff like that.
Right.
So, yes.
difference maybe between today and your time was you sort of practiced before you went to a wedding. You learned your trade. Well,
Yeah.
nowadays, I believe, and it's not
absolutely.
an insult, but a lot of people improvise themselves, a wedding photographer, and they come in and it's like you've got different sites and you speak to people and they say, well, hey, I'm going to go shoot a wedding this weekend. Can I borrow a spare battery charger?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I've been asked to do weddings, and even if I have 2 cameras and multiple lenses, I'm not equipped for it. If something goes wrong,
Yeah.
I won't be able to handle it.
No,
That-
absolutely.
See?
Absolutely. One time in my weddings, once I had 2 cameras, one film badly attached. C'était une chance that I would take click, 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 then click, click, click.
Yeah.
Chance, because I would have missed some parts of the wedding because I didn't switch cameras once in a while.
Right.
You know what I mean? And when I did because after I got to 24, then I got to 26, and I got to 28, I said, il y a quelque chose qui marche pas ici.
Yeah.
See, and I looked at my spool and it wasn't turning.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't turning that little spool at the end.
Definitely.
The film wasn't hooked up properly. And
Mhm.
after that, I said, no, à mesure, I'm going to always have 2 cameras all the time. And you know what I mean?
I worked with a photographer who worked with Hasselblads, and he had an assistant with him, and he got to the bride's house, and once they got to the bride's house, he'd give the back to the assistant and say, okay, reload it with
That's right.
whatever film and this and that and da 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 da. And once they finished at the house, he had a weird feeling. He told me the whole story. He had a weird feeling, and he started turning the rewind spool, and the film wasn't finished yet, but it was turning like dalbar. How do we say in English?
Yeah.
Vid.
It was spinning. Yeah,
Loose.
Loosely,
Like-
something like that.
loosely. Yeah, exactly, as if there was
No film.
no film in it.
Yeah.
And he turned to and this is after he'd finished, and they were just about to leave to go to the church.
Yeah.
He turned to his assistant. He says, did you change the films in the back like I asked you? And she turned to him and she says, well, I don't know how. He says, what?
Yeah,
Are you
exactly.
serious?
Yeah, yeah.
You didn't ask me how to, I mean, if you didn't know how to do it, why didn't you ask me the moment I told you to change the back?
Yeah,
She says, well, because you were so busy with the bride. He turned to her, he says, you mean to tell me I haven't shot any shots since we got here? Luckily, he called everybody back in the house. He reloaded his backs as fast as he could. And at least he got back with and he was using 220s. So he
Yeah.
had 24 shots on the 120 film.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways, long story short, that poor second shooter, that poor assistant.
In our day, it was. I mean, you would like go white. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'd like when I found that film wasn't hooked up properly. You know,
yeah, for sure.
Like fuck, you know what I mean?
And Mark's seen me give a class on wedding photography. I have 3 wedding classes that I give. One is basically a 3-hour sit down class where I talk about meeting the customer and what I
Setting up your thing.
Yeah, exactly. And the process, like the procession of the day and to give people an idea of what a wedding is. The most important recommendation I give all people who want to get into event photography is for at least 1 season, if not 2 seasons, find yourself an established photographer and follow them as a second shooter, at least for the first and second season, for your first and second season, just so that you learn the process, you learn the procession. Because believe, and I got to admit, I was lucky. I had a horseshoe up my butt in 2004, and Uncle Bob will remember at my cousin Matthew's wedding, it was that photographer who found me. I was with him for 6 years. And, this is the 2023 was my last year for weddings and baptisms and confirmations. But from 2004 to 2023, I haven't shot every culture, but I've shot a good, at least 10 or 12 different cultures. And if I hadn't have had the
experience
training, the experience that Gus had given me and that Lily had given me and that Pierre had given me, one of the and Lou, the 2 other photographers that I worked with, I never would have been able to do as many years as I did in wedding photography. And it prepped me also for other event photography too, because everybody thinks that the photographer shows up and just tick, 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 just reacts to what's happening around. You have to be able to anticipate your subject. I don't know. I mean, how many times I tell novices, don't just anticipate what your subject is going to do and be ready for it.
That and get the right angle.
I've definitely get the right angle.
Because a lot of times you get these photographers who are getting a side.
Yes.
Or a back picture. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or you know what I mean? They're not stepping up to get in front. You're the photographer. Let's say.
Est-ce que vous aviez de la misère? Parce que j'ai eu, moi, un voisin qui avait son photographe pour sa fille, puis tout ça. Sauf qu'il m'a demandé, il dit, gars, Marc, il dit, gars, viens-t'en dans le coin, puis il dit, prends tes photos, j'aime voir tes photos sur Facebook, puis tout ça. Alors, il est arrivé que j'ai embarqué dans le wedding party, c'était des Italiens, alors c'est quelque chose qui est important. J'ai même eu des bouncers qui sont arrivés me voir parce que ils pensaient que j'étais le voisin qui sortait avec sa caméra pour prendre n'importe quelle photo, jusqu'à temps que le père de la mariée, il a fait signe avec ses doigts, tassez-vous, puis... mais, écoute, j'aurais jamais pu faire ça comme métier. Je pense que j'aurais été enragé. J'ai la mariée qui descend un tapis rouge puis qui commence à tourner sur elle avec la robe qui rouvre. C'est une photo idéale. Juste le temps de faire mon setup puis d'avoir mon exposition. Puis là, j'ai une madame qui arrive avec son téléphone cellulaire puis qui se met devant moi. Je suis pas le photographe officiel, je peux pas chialer, mais j'aurais de la misère à faire ça.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I started wedding photography when I was 15 years old. And Andrew can attest to that because, and I even forgot I had started that young. but Andrew had found an album of one of his uncles that I photographed his wedding in Toronto.
Yes.
And
Uncle Lou.
yeah, and when he told me, hey, uncle, you were the photographer, I didn't me rappelais même pas.
Oh, boy.
And I did many weddings, 15, 16, 17, up until about 25, until my wife said, okay, that's it. See? And because she used to carry around my equipment.
Oh, Auntie Chris?
Yeah, Auntie Chris used to carry around my equipment. I said, okay, give me a flash, give me a thing, give me.
Yeah.
So that's it. But I know exactly what you're saying, because c'est sûr que everybody wants to get that photograph like the photographer did.
Yes,
No.
absolutely.
So they get in front of you, they get beside you, they get, and when I had multiple flashes with slaves now, Stando, they weren't dedicated flashes, they were slave flashes. So anybody's flash would make them go off, and they would use my batteries for nothing. So I would think, fuck,
Yeah. Because we didn't have radio, or I should say, we didn't have, in that day, on Uncle's day, they didn't have radio triggers.
Yeah, that's right.
They were magic eyes.
That's right. Exactly.
And it's happened to myself also in certain weddings where, for whatever reason, I couldn't use a radio trigger, so I'd put it on, and you'd have just iPhone flashes, literally flashing.
Yeah,
see your Cobra flashes.
Yeah. It gives great photo phones. Like you just do a flash with your phone and then boof, professional.
Exactly. Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, my photo on my phone looks so great in the dark now.
But I'll tell you one thing though, Marc Alaris, I always, in every wedding, you always have 2 or 3 people who do that. But there is a way, there's a polite, discreet way. Usually what I normally do is, if I see somebody's coming towards me, I straight out, I put out my left hand to stop the person from advancing, or to push the person out of the way. Okay. I don't even necessarily have to say anything. Mind you, some people you need to tell them straight out. But there are ways, and I like I said, I learned so much through Lily and through Lou.
There are ways. No, there are ways.
There are ways.
What, you tell them that the bride's paying $5,000 for those pictures, and they're in the way?
Oh, listen, I've had to tell maids of honor. It's like, sweetheart, listen, you had your wedding, your photographer shot your wedding, but I'm sorry to say, this bride has chosen me to shoot the wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we have time, we'll do the shot that you want, but you're not the bride, you're the maid of honor.
The biggest thing in especially a multiple person lineup is getting people to look at the photographer.
Yes.
That's one of the biggest problems. Naturally, the bride and her husband are looking at you.
Yes, it's getting the rest.
Everybody else is talking.
Absolutely.
And, okay, 1, 2, 3, come on. I want you here.
Exactly.
And
I've actually gotten the evil eye.
You have to do that, because
hell no.
And that way there you take charge of the photograph too.
Yeah.
Well, that's what a photographer is, It's like you have to tell them, place yourself there, look at me, okay, everyone smile. At the beginning of taking some of my pictures, I'm not someone who's extravagant, so I tend to be a little more quiet. Yeah. That's why I have more successful pictures with animals than I do with people,
Yeah, no, I understand.
Try to direct people. It's an art, like tell them, okay, put your head there, look a little down, smile, but don't over smile. There's too many things,
If you can add a little humor to it, it works.
That always works.
You know what I mean? And because what you're looking for, again, is that glint in the eye, that smile, you know what I mean? You're looking for that specialness about that person. You know what I mean? And if you add a little bit of humor, you add a little bit of courtesy, généralement, you'll get it. But
c'est un métier. Photographe de mariage, c'est un métier.
Ah oui, absolument.
Comme AJ m'a déjà expliqué une fois qu'on avait un souper familial, puis il commençait à parler de toutes les différentes nationalités. Il y en a qui cassent la vitre, qui garochent des verres, des affaires comme ça. Pour quelqu'un qui n'est pas habitué, mais tu seras pas à la bonne place pour prendre ta photo. Puis
Absolument.
c'est quelque chose qui est important dans ce mariage-là. C'est une cérémonie ou une action qui va apporter de la chance ou quelque chose comme
Ben
ça
oui.
aux jeunes mariés. Puis si t'es pas là, tu viens de le manquer.
Non, exactement, c'est ça. Puis il faut vraiment connaître et parler avec le monde avant pour savoir comment ça va dérouler.
Mhm.
Puis, tu sais, quand ils sont prêts à faire certaines actions, que tu sois bien averti. Tu sais, que, regarde, we're going to do the glass breaking now or whatever in 5 minutes, or, tu sais, que tu choisis ta place, puis tu peux même leur dire, regarde, fallait en avant comme ici, puis je vais placer mes affaires comme que tu devrais les
But I'll
placer.
be honest with you, that's also another reason why I've decided to put a stop. Well, put a stop to stop doing weddings is
Yeah.
because since the pandemic, with all of the retard, with all of the
Backlog.
thank you, that happened from the pandemic. What Uncle's talking about now happens much, much, much less because weddings are still 4 years later being reserved 2 weeks before the wedding, 3 weeks before the wedding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Ouch.
And there's so many weddings that photographers are overbooking themselves and hiring other photographers to do the wedding for them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but don't forget the other problem they have, the photographers today, they take too many pictures.
Oh, absolutely.
And no, but not in taking too many pictures means that you have to fix too many pictures.
Absolutely.
And that takes time.
Definitely.
Say, because I mean, in today's world, the photography is less precise, but it's more digital. So
Yes.
it's more digital. The guy goes click, 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 30 pictures of the same, you know,
Ouais, c'est ça.
the same thing. And he's got to choose which one he's going to fix. And he usually fixes at least 50% of them. So if you got 1,000 pictures, that's 500 pictures. How long does it take you to fix a picture? You know what I mean?
How long does it take to go through 1,000 pictures and pick?
So
Well, I'll tell you, I'll tell you that when I was doing weddings, when I was really high on a wedding season, I was sorting through. It usually would take me, and I would do maybe 2 to 3 hours a night. You're talking about a week, you could go through 1,000 photos.
yeah.
And if you're shooting 2,000, 2,500, yeah, I did a wedding 2 years ago for the first time ever. I did a Hindi wedding. Now, I don't know if you have ever been to a Hindu wedding, but
That's 3 days, eh?
3, it's 5.
Oh, 5 days? Yeah.
5 days. But this one here was just the ceremony and the reception. So it was the last part, the latter part.
Okay.
The ceremony was 6.5 hours long. It was in 3 acts, and the bride and groom had 7 costume changes.
Wow.
Okay. I shot that day with the reception and with the formal portraits. I had shot 4,590 odd photos.
Oh.
It took me 3 weeks to go through them.
Mhm.
And that was just to sort through half, like to be able to deliver between a third and half of those photos. So because I think I ended up submitting what, maybe 1,800 photos.
Okay.
And
That's a lot of photos.
that's a lot of photos, right?
So
You know,
much.
and they make an album of 36 pictures.
Well, actually, they make nowadays the albums are digital. So, you know, you're talking about a 20 to a 30 page album. You're looking at about 150 photos. Because tu sais, c'est des montages. Tu sais, c'est ça, exactement. It's not like Uncle's Day when it was, and I have Uncle Lou, I have Mom and Dad, I've got, and it was like 8x10s.
Oui.
That was your page. That was your shot.
C'est ça.
T'avais 24. That was it. You had 24 8x10s, and you had maybe what?
I remember when I got married, okay?
Yeah.
That to put me and my wife in a wine glass. The lab had to do it.
Oh yeah.
The lab had to do it because they had a template with a wine glass, and they could put the picture in the middle of it. And that
Really?
was that was the, you know, the biggest thing, you know, and we used to charge like $25 more for that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
For like film photography, is there any way to do touch-ups on the pictures in wedding photography, or it's what your shot is, what it is what you
There
get?
is. Melina, there is.
Yeah,
But
there
believe
is.
it or not, it's with a pinceau,
With a
with a
pinceau,
brush.
Yeah,
Hey.
yeah. And it is a brush and a chemical that uses the chemicals that are on the sheet.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? It's not a paint over. It's
No.
it's using the chemicals that are on the sheet already, on the paper already.
But uncle,
Yeah,
Nanny and Grandpa,
yeah.
remember
there they
in the
was.
dining room, it was a black and white photo that was painted.
Yeah.
What was that?
No, it wasn't painted. It was touched up. It was the. Are you talking about the picture of my grandfather and my grandmother?
No. I'm talking about Nanny and Grandpa. They
Oh,
had the
that
colorized
one.
photos,
Yeah,
the
no,
portraits.
yes. Oh, their portraits.
Yeah, the portraits.
Yeah, no, those were not painted. They were taken with a 4x5.
Okay.
I remember because I was there as a kid watching this guy, and it fascinated me. And all he did after is when he did make them, because they were like, I think if I remember right, they were 2 feet by 3 feet.
Okay.
The things, they were touched up with hand
Tinting.
hand painting. Yeah, they were just touched up though. They would refine the eyes. They would
Okay.
things like that, you know. But I mean, in general, the photograph was taken with a camera, with a 4x5.
Oh yeah.
Would those touch-ups modify the silver in the negative, or what? Or is it on the paper you're talking
No, on the
about?
paper. It was done
Okay.
on the paper itself, and depending on what method they use, because I did a lot on black and white touch-ups, and it was with a little chemical that would make that area a little darker. So the more you would put of that chemical, the darker it would get. So if you
Okay.
wanted to, you know, it was harder to take off a dust spot than to add a dust spot. You know what I mean? Because you didn't have much that would bleach it to white.
Okay.
So you know what I mean? And for color, well, color was basically a watercolor, water paint, you know, they would try and match the color beside it. Go with that. And you know, and all that was done in that style on matte paper. You know, so
I miss that matte paper.
yeah, matte paper,
Hey,
beautiful.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, it was.
I got it. Ilford still they're still distributing. That's the paper I'm gonna get for the dark room.
Yeah.
Fiber based instead of the resin coated.
I had another question between film versus digital.
Yeah.
Now with digital, we do macro photography. We take many images, different areas of focus, and stack them. But in film photography, is there a way to do macro photography?
Macro photography there is, but stacking images for the focus, no.
No, yeah, but yeah.
You had to use your depth of field.
Yeah, to use. Okay, so there is a way to do it with one frame by using
Yes.
a greater depth of field.
And much more light.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
You
Yeah,
really yep. Go
The
see.
stacking of today is it's a process, but it's not reality to me. It's not reality to me. It's like, you know, it's like cheating.
And believe it or not, Milena, like specific, like for me, I have a 4x5 accordion camera. And in French they call it a chambre, right?
Okay, yep.
With those cameras, the bellows, you didn't need actually a macro lens. You could use a natural lens.
Mhm.
What would happen is you would extend the bellows past the focal length of the lens and refocus it at that distance, and that would advance the physical distance of the first element of your lens so it would replicate a macro an actual macro lens.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's playing. I mean, it was amazing.
Well, it's because you can also adjust the perspective. You can
Yeah.
adjust the alignment.
Yes.
It's a slow process, but before you take a picture, you can't say, well, attends une minute, là, je vais attendre une demi-heure, là, because.
C'est ça, exactement.
I mean, did you know when that famous photograph of Winston Churchill? It's an epic photograph taken by Joseph Karsh.
Yeah.
In Toronto. He had 3 minutes to take the picture because Mr. Churchill didn't have time. And he came in the room, he sat down, the other one had his lights set up and all that down there. And he had 3 minutes to get that shot. And that shot is famous around the world. You know what I mean? It was like.
Hold on, I'm going to pull it up here. I got it.
Is that the one on the National Geographic?
Well, it's been in everything. It's been in Time magazine. It's been in.
Okay.
It's been everywhere.
Hold on a sec. I'm going to share it. Where is it? Share screen.
And
This one here.
He got his. Yeah, that's the one exactly.
Okay, so that's the one I'm familiar.
Yeah, that was taken in 3 minutes by his car, and he got him like. Je sais pas qu'est-ce qu'il a dit, mais
Oh yeah.
He got the man. He got the guy who he was, type of thing. See?
That's the one that got stolen at Chateau Laurier too, because this one was taken in Ottawa, if I recall.
In Ottawa,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, it was in Ottawa.
Exactly.
But that was the party that was stolen, right? They announced that there was not the real one that was exposed at Chateau Laurier a few years ago.
Oh, I don't know that story. No, I didn't know.
No,
I didn't know it got stolen.
me neither.
I just knew that Joseph Karch took it, and that he had written about it that it was like he didn't have much time. He wasn't allowed much time. They gave him 3 minutes, and he had to set up all before. And I guess he used a model or something to try, but although he couldn't see the photograph itself until it was printed, and he snapped I think 3 shots in the 3 minutes, and that's it. So
yeah.
But it's he captured him. He captured him completely. Oublie pas, c'était dans le temps de la guerre, ça aussi. And he was a big war guy.
Tu, Bob, s'il y avait un mannequin comme le mien, mais là, ça aurait tout été
Peut-être,
fait,
ouais. C'est ça, non, je suis d'accord avec toi parce que j'ai tout le temps eu de la misère à avoir quelqu'un en avant de mon studio, tabarnak. I would tell my wife, you got to do this. You have to do this. When we made the vows, for better or for worse, that's it. You know what I mean?
It's written in the contract.
It's not.
But yeah, AJ, I post a link in the Zoom chat, by the way.
Okay.
I discovered last year
Yeah.
that it was stolen and replaced by a copy, but they don't know when it happened.
Really?
I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that.
I post a link to CBC.
Yeah. I wonder who has the negatives of all these things, because I mean that's the negative, and someone, either the Archives of Canada must have the negative. Someone has to have the negative of these things too.
There we. And it was shot in 1979? No, it wasn't shot in
No,
1979.
it was shot in 1941.
1941, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was shot in 8x10.
8x10, yeah, that's right.
It was shot by yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's film. It's a different medium. It's a very and just in this past year with all of the research I've myself have been doing on film photography, it's digital and film, they're not at war with each other. They're two different types of photography.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, like in film photography, you had Cibachrome, you had tintype. Um, you know, I'm in the process of, you know, I want to get going on my dry plate. I still have a bit more research to do and stuff like that, but very soon it's just it's a different type of photography. A lot of, and today the with the digital photography, we're so inundated with speed. You know, I was listening to a podcast earlier this evening, and they were saying how, you know, today everybody wants everything yesterday.
Yeah.
But, you know, wanting something that quickly, evidently you're going to lose out on a certain amount of the process.
And that's the beauty of this, you know, because, you know, to load a 120 film takes 10 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, c'est comme cantenaire, là, tu sais.
Oh, wait, and you only got 12 shots. It's
And you got 12 shots, and then, you know, your shutter doesn't go off properly.
hey, wait.
Can I get it or not?
You know,
Yeah.
it's
So you guys sort of like the anticipation of seeing what you're finally gonna get.
absolutely.
It's a mystery.
You know,
Yes.
I've been at, I wouldn't say I've been at war, but I have a buddy who is, he used to be the Sony technical rep. And he's very much into the technologies, is very much into immediate process. He came to me last week when he saw me, and he asked me, he says, AJ, I hear you talking about the film photography and I see your passion and this and that. He says, but honest to God, from a guy of the 21st century, what is so empowering about film photography? I says, I'm not naming names or anything like that, but I says, you know, so and so, it's the, not the mystery, but it's the magic of seeing what you've accomplished, that 2 or 3 or a week later, a week and a half later, it's the process of going through the development stage, you know, putting it through the chemicals and seeing it slowly appear. It has to be experienced. You have to
Yeah.
see it to believe it.
Both sides, the digital and the argentic, have their usage.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, in my company, all my foremen have digital cameras. Well, not anymore. Now they have phones. But I mean, they you know, they can communicate with the office and suite, regarde, on a un problème ici, and then so it has that you can't do with film.
No.
You know, so that part of it, no problem.
Yeah.
T'es mal pris on the street. You're going through. You're driving down the other. There's this truck explodes in front of you.
Yeah.
You know, and literally, it happened to me, but in 1971, and I photographed it with a camera.
Yeah.
But now you can do it, you know, and send it to Journal de Montréal or wherever TVO right away. It has its advantage, but there's something about light passing through a film and that repassing through under a larger or coming through a projector that makes it special. There's something about it, and it's hard to pinpoint it and say, you know,
it's more organic or more.
It's well, you know, when we had the slideshow the other night, it was so nostalgic for a guy like me. You know, because it was, you know, and I'm not only talking about my slides, but all the slides I saw. You know, it was like an era.
Yeah.
That was there, you know, and because we put it was that people took slides or pictures and they had to send them.
Yeah.
You know, go to the pharmacy or wherever you had them developed, if you didn't develop them yourself, and wait for them. See. And when they came back, well, then, you know, you scrap half of them.
That's it.
Yeah, and using this example from Uncle Bob, like our slideshow night, there was something kind of strange but surreal at the same time. It felt natural, like seeing those photos being light up. And it was, I think, one of my rare experiences when I did see slideshow like these, or maybe the last time I did that was like 20 years ago when I was like a kid.
Yeah.
But like it was something different.
It
It
was
was.
exactly. It was something different. Exactly. And that's what I think film has. And I'll tell you, listen, I've done film photography since I'm 12 years old. I started developing when I was about 15, and I developed all my life till about 20 years ago. And then I had sold all my developing equipment in toute la patente. And someone said to me, because at moment donné, I said, okay, the kids are out of the house, everybody's grown up. I'm going to restart my darkroom. And one of my friends said to me, well, why don't you look into digital photography? You know, and it's coming, and it's, tu sais, ça s'en vient là, puis ci, puis ça. So I went and bought a Sony Mavica. Okay.
I have it.
You know what that is? You probably still have it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It had a floppy disk in the back.
Mm-hmm. The Mavicas. Oh,
Oh yeah.
Okay. And the first one wasn't even 1 megapixel.
Absolutely.
It was a 480 by 640 frame. Okay. I went to Belgium with it. I took 1,400 pictures on this fucking camera. And
how much floppy did it take for that? Because wow.
I brought 20 with me, and in Belgium, I think I bought another 20.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, you know what I mean? And then I printed them this big, like, you know, like a contact sheet.
Ouais, c'est gros comme un timbre.
C'est ça, tu sais. And then they came out with the second Mavica that had 1.4 megapixels. That was reasonable. It wasn't great, but it was reasonable.
Yeah, it was reasonable.
So I said, but what was the beauty of it is that I could manipulate the photographs the way I wanted. I could add titles. I could changer les couleurs, mettre ça en noir et blanc, But then I after playing with that for a couple of years, I says, fuck, I'm still missing that photography part of it. I didn't feel photography. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I felt technical. I didn't feel that the photography was there. So it's a good thing that when I did go to Belgium, I brought a film camera and the Mavic. And the film camera, I shot about 400 pictures with it. I shot about 10 rolls of 36s. And to back up the Mavic, because it was served, see? So good thing I still have those today.
I actually only completely switched to digital photography after year 2010.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I had a point and shoot.
Okay.
I kept bringing it to events, and people already had smartphones and thought I was like, who is this person with this camera?
But by 2010, they started making reasonably good
Yes.
digital cameras. See?
Well, my first DSLR was the Minolta Maxim 7, and that was a 6 megapixel sensor in 2006. 2004.
Okay.
And in 2006, Sony came out with a 12 megapixel when they bought, what they did was they bought out Minolta because Minolta was getting out of the market. And Sony wanted to get into the still photography because they were already in video for years. I mean,
yeah, they were. Yeah.
They were manufacturing sensors years before that.
Yeah, my first digitals after the Mavicas was the Sony Cybershots.
That's right.
Which were 10 megapixels.
Yeah.
And that was starting to get to a camera that was reasonable. See? And it was, the controls were pretty good. And je pouvais faire manuel, je pouvais faire, aperture, shutter,
The first Sony Alpha 700 was an actual Minolta 7D body and sensor. Sorry, not the sensor. The sensor was the Sony 12 megapixel. That's when they jumped to 12 megapixel. And then the A7, and then when the model number became a 2-digit number, that's when they hit the 24.
Well, after the Sony, I bought a Nikon D40.
That's right.
If I remember, the D40 was a 16 megapixel.
That's right.
And it served me well for about 5 years. And then I said, no, I got to buy a camera. I got to buy a film camera again,
Okay.
And I bought a film camera. Then I bought the Z6 and et cetera, et cetera.
Which you bought, but just before the pandemic or just after the pandemic?
No, just before. Yeah,
just before, yeah. 2019.
2019, I think, or 2018.
Yeah.
2018, because I went on a cruise. That's right. Yeah, I bought it for the cruise.
That's right.
So, but
and you still have the Z6?
I still have the Z6, and I got a D5300.
Okay.
And I got about 10 lenses that fit on these things. So, and I'm using a lot of the old Nikon lenses with an adapter because the bokeh is beautiful.
Yeah.
These old lenses. The back is, especially if you do a one focus with a lot of depth of field.
Oh yeah.
The bokeh is beautiful in the back.
How do you do bokeh?
Well,
bokeh is the quality of the blur behind in the depth of field.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
You know when you see those photos of like a nature photo where you see a stream and you see those glistening, like it makes those like quarters, those discs of light.
Yes.
The larger that light, those reflections are, or those bursts of light are, and the softer they are, that's what we pay for when we look for that quality of lens. Is those, I guess, les éclatements de lumière.
Yeah, it's really, when you look at the digitals today, lenses, they're so sharp.
Yes.
They're sharp lenses. They're beautiful lenses. I mean, and to get that old bokeh feeling, you take one of the old lenses, put an adapter on it, and do a f4, f5.6 maximum, get the background all in bokeh, and you get these beautiful out of focus. They sont comme soft,
Exactly. And I just want to remark, did you hear what Uncle Bob just said? He didn't say 1.2 and 1.4. For all of you guys out there listening and watching, okay? He didn't say 1.2, 1.4, or f1 or f80 0.85. No. He said f4 and 5.6.
Yeah.
Okay. For portrait.
Absolutely.
For portrait.
Absolutely.
Right. Pinterest is not a reference for photography, people. Okay. You don't need those 1.2s, 1.4s, 1.8s.
No.
All right. Not for the actual photo. At 1.2, you put your focus on the eye, and the eyelashes are out of focus.
That's right. That's right. And don't forget, if you're shooting a true portrait in a studio, you have enough lighting to use any f-stop you want.
Exactly.
So you know what I mean? Go use something reasonable.
Yeah. And this is also something that everybody should take into consideration too, is to use something reasonable. We always push to the outer limits. It's fine to discover, it's fine to explore. But when you create an image specifically for somebody else, you need that image to represent that person as best as you can. Right? It's, I know that marketing, with the shooting portraits at 16 millimeters and shooting at 12 millimeters, but I'm sorry, this face, you'll never shoot at 12 millimeters.
No.
I'm sorry.
Although it's very nice at 24.
But even at 24, I mean, to be able to get the portrait size,
I know you can't do it.
You got to be at 4 feet away.
Yeah, I know.
And I mean, I already got golf balls
I can
for
see
eyes.
the thought already of your beard going up this way. With 24.
Yeah, exactly. And my camera is just above eye level.
That's right.
You know what I mean? If it was just a little bit lower, this would be right.
That's up. But no, listen, the art of photography is always through the eye of the beholder.
Absolutely.
so you know what I mean. I love photography, and hopefully I'm going to die with a bunch of millions of pictures, so that At the same time, don't forget we're recording history.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the history of our families, the history of toute la patente,
Uncle and I have had a rough year this year, and I in all of the photography, and this is where I feel I've kind of missed out on, is that for a long while I stopped when I was doing, and Mark will remember, when I was in IT, I really let photography go when I should not have. I should have done exactly like Uncle Bob and kept the camera on my belt, kept it around me, kept snapping photos. And I'll be honest, some of you already know, I lost my dad this year, as Uncle's lost Auntie Chris, but Uncle has continued shooting the photos, of Auntie and the family and the kids and this and that. And there are actual blocks of time where I have no photos of my dad. For the longest time, when my grandparents passed away, I could not find a single photo of Grammy and Grandpa anywhere. And I had lost all of my photography from when I was shooting it in grade 5, grade 6, grade 6, secondary one, when I was, and it was my old man who found it in his garage in a box. And I'm like, oh my God, I did take pictures of my grandparents.
Absolutely.
And the pictures at Nanny and Grandpa's, remember there was a picture I did a self-portrait of myself. I had racked up Grandpa's pool table, and I was at the other end. I shot a beautiful color shot of me, and I had hair. I had a full
not
head of
for
hair.
a long time, but he did have hair.
Not for a long time, but I had a full head of hair. Okay. And I cried when Dad said I have a whole box of negatives and stuff over here. I cried. I says, you can't be serious. He says, yeah, it says 1981. I said, 1981. My God, that's the stuff I did when I was in high school, and and luckily enough, I was able to get that stuff back.
I had an experience with my sister-in-law. She was born the year I was married to her sister, and I photographed her throughout her life, and she used to hate to be photographed.
Mhm.
She used to hate it. Uncle Bob, now her daughter is 20 years old, and when her sister died, which was my wife, she said, I look back and I'm so happy that you took all those pictures, because she says I have now a history of because her mother died a couple of years ago, and her father and all this stuff here. So she says, now I have the pictures. I have the history of that. And I hated it when you used to do it.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I just, listen, that's my job,
So you can say something, at least for the digital age, it permitted people to record a whole life of someone that we couldn't while we were doing film.
Absolutely. Well, I did both. I had film for a long time when she was born, and then I switched to digital, and was easier to transfer stuff, and that's up there. But now I do the artistic more for the artistry and for myself than for people. You know what I mean? And it's fun to be in these groups of, these clubs and things like that. J'aime ça. On parle de ça. C'est fun.
Ah oui, l'amitié qui se fait alentour de tout le monde, puis qu'on peut rencontrer, puis tu parles à quelqu'un. Moi, je suis un ancien exterminateur. Alors, les sujets qu'on passe sur un bar, puis la joke, c'est que quand on a fait notre présentation de slides, mais là, le monde a tout apporté un 10 slides de 20 pour présenter. Puis là, le monde m'a regardé moi et dit, bon, mais qu'est-ce que tu as apporté, toi, tu sais? Alors, il y a du monde qui ont ri, il y en a du monde qui n'ont pas trouvé ça intéressant, mais on n'a pas montré trop
Amener des
ben,
bébites.
tu sais, j'ai amené des bébites. Ben, ça a été la manière que j'ai été exposé aux diapositives parce que c'était la formation dans le temps des exterminateurs où ce que même quand tu passais ton examen, ils sortaient la diapo, puis c'était cet insecte-là, puis là, tu sortais le pedigree de l'insecte.
Ouais.
Alors, c'était tout ce que tu
Ah
devais
oui, c'est
utiliser
ça.
pour l'identifier. Puis l'autre expérience que j'ai eue dans ma vie des diapositives, c'était un oncle qui faisait de la photographie. À part de ça, mais là, c'est pas quelque chose. Je pose des questions des fois que peut-être AJ, lui, il a vécu, il dit OK, ou Bob va me regarder, il va dire ben là, écoute, elle est drôle ta question, c'est le même, mais c'est parce que n'ayant jamais touché à ça,
Ouais.
mais là, tu te dis OK, c'est beau, je prends un appareil photo, je m'en vais faire des diapositives, mais là, pour que ça finisse sur le petit carré blanc, comment est-ce que c'est rendu sur le petit carré blanc? C'est-tu toi qui a coupé le film, puis qui l'a mis dans une enveloppe, puis qui a collé ça avec un fer à repasser? Tu sais, c'est toutes des affaires qu'on ne sait pas, nous autres. Là,
Dans ce temps-là, je vais dire, quand j'ai développé des slides, là, on achetait les cartons, ils étaient ouverts, puis il n'avait que ceux que tu passais au fer, puis il y en avait ceux que tu passais, que tu enlevais le collant, tu sais, puis
Ouais, c'est ça.
tu sais, but
je faisais une farce à propos
I had
du fer
both
à
types,
repasser,
see?
là, tu sais.
I had both types, and the ones that I did bring are
And
in,
you had the remember the
glass.
plastic ones
Yeah, they're plastic with glass.
with oui.
Plastic with glass. So those are mainly the ones that I brought that night. They were like my better slides, so I protected them in glass, you know.
Okay.
But no, it's stuff that. Mais I'm convinced, Mac, qu'un jour on va t'avoir.
Oh yeah.
Hey, écoute, je l'ai déjà dit, j'aime faire un petit peu d'argentique. C'est sûr que je ne suis pas équipé. Quand j'ai recommencé à faire de la photographie il y a 6-7 ans, l'équipement était là, c'était digital. Alors, let's go. Puis, une des forces que j'avais dit à ma conjointe, j'ai dit, OK, si ça ne marche pas, puis ça finit dans un garde-robe, je n'aurais pas investi gros. Ma première caméra, c'était une Rebelle T5. Alors, j'ai commencé ça avec une boîte ouverte, puis hop, puis là, on recommence à sortir un peu plus avec AJ. Même si AJ qui m'avait remarqué dans un magasin, j'étais en train d'acheter un Zoom 75-300, je crois, pour 100
Ouais.
Puis je reçois un coup de téléphone chez nous dans la soirée, puis c'est mon AJ qui me dit Hey Marc, t'étais où hier soir? Ben, j'ai dit, j'étais avec ma femme. Il dit, t'as-tu sorti quelque part? J'ai dit, ben oui. J'ai arrêté à tel magasin pour me ramasser un Zoom. Il dit, ben oui. Il dit, j'étais dans une classe en train de faire une
Hey,
formation.
oui. Hey.
Puis il dit, je tapais ça vite pour avoir ton attention, mais tu sais, nous autres, moi, j'étais tellement heureux, je m'achetais ma petite lentille.
Ouais, le gars, il avait hâte d'avoir son zoom, là, puis l'utiliser.
And the funny thing is he wasn't there, eh? But in my classroom, I looked out the window and I literally mid-sentence stopped. And everybody's looking at me going, and they're like hanging on that last word I said in the sentence. And I'm looking. And I go, holy crap. That's my old buddy over there. I haven't seen him in years. And I said, okay, sorry, guys. J'ai continué le cours, but non, je te dis, c'est quelque chose.
Tu sais, alors là, AJ, il est reparti sur une passion avec l'argentique puis tout ça. Puis là, je rencontre Luco, puis Uncle Bob qui s'ajoute à nous autres, puis Mila aussi, puis tout ça. Est-ce que je veux me lancer dans l'argentique? Non, parce que je ne me vois pas faire toute l'installation. Je n'ai pas la place chez nous. AJ me dit, ben là, réveille un peu. Il dit, la technologie est plus moderne aujourd'hui. Tu n'es pas obligé d'avoir la chambre noire
Non, c'est ça.
pour mettre tes films. Puis après ça, tu n'es pas obligé de tout avoir les gadgets pour mettre tout ça.
Non, mais pour
j'ai
ça,
investi. Ouais.
pour tous les gadgets, on va aller chez AJ dans pas long, là.
Oui,
Ouais,
ça, c'est une autre histoire.
Ça, c'est mon agrandisseur, OK? Ça,
Ouais.
je pense. Ça, c'est mon scanner de négatif. Là,
OK.
It's as big as that. That's it, you know what I mean? Le restant, je le fais dans une sac noir. That's it. Là,
Ouais.
Je développe dans mon sac noir, puis...
Mais comme Luco dit, il dit, ben, regarde, as soon as my dark, you're all invited to come and j'ai déjà 3, il m'en reste une 4e à ramasser, agrandisseur.
Tout le monde, si j'ai bien compris, le développement, puis tout ça, la chambre noire, ça va être gratuit, mais AJ va charger sur le stationnement.
C'est vrai, ça va faire la queue leu devant sa maison, toutes les voitures.
Ouais, c'est ça.
Ouais, c'est ça, exactement.
À un moment donné, la police va venir, il va dire, c'est quoi tu fais ici?
Aïe, aïe, aïe.
No, but it is a beautiful experience. And you know, I told Andrew too that I'm going to go and take a look at that because,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
because I was sitting on the edge saying, do I buy an enlarger? Do I not? Do I not? Do I do? I know if my wife was still there, she'd say, no, don't buy it.
Yeah.
But she's not here.
I'll be totally honest with you. I was just, honest to God, I must have had another horseshoe up my butt because I was just lucky both times in a row. Because literally the equipment was donated. It was given to me. One was of the president of Le Club Photo at Saint-Eustache, and Le Club Photo over here at Saint-Hubert. Justement, they were being moved and they had to get rid of their equipment and they didn't want to throw it out. About a month ago, I gave them, or a little less than a month ago, I'd given a conference with my work, and I'd talked about film photography, and evidently I had my Bessa with me. And the president said, hey, listen, if you got a few minutes at the end, please stick around. I got something to show you. And she took me upstairs, and then she took me through these corridors and these, she says, can you do anything with any of this? And I look at it, there's 3 enlargers. I go, what? She says, can you do anything with this? I says, I can't afford it. She says, no, I'm not looking to sell it. I'm just looking to get rid of it. I says, hey, listen, and if you want it back, you let me know. But yeah, absolutely. She says, well, next weekend, if you're free, come pick it up. It's all yours.
And did you do it yet?
Yeah, it's here. It's all here.
Oh, it's here. Oh,
it's all here. I gotta clear out the garage. I gotta clear out one of the machines to make space for it. And I just gotta figure out how I'm gonna light proof it, warm it up a bit too. I'm gonna have to insulate a bit the garage door and it's all here. It's all here. I got everything.
You have water in the garage?
I have water.
Yeah.
I don't have like drainage systems. I used to use when I had the workshop, I used to use pails to drain.
Yeah.
Right. But I just have to figure out how I'm gonna. That's the big issue is how I'm gonna set up a water table. Because ultimately, I'd like to have a water table with literally 2 rows of trays, because I've got more than enough trays. I've got trays from 8 by 10 right up to 16 by 20.
Yeah.
C'est
bon.
So yeah.
No, it's perfect. It's just
and
you gotta count your chemicals in that too,
Well, no, absolutely. But of the 3, 2 of the enlargers are color.
En plus.
En plus.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Wait a minute. 1, 2. Yeah, that's right. 3.
And the colors with the full filters and the whole thing?
Full filter. And the black and white, I have 3 sets of the Ilford multigrade filters.
The poly contrast, yeah.
Yeah, the poly contrast. Yeah.
And 6x6 ou...
Oh, no. Le 120, 6x6. La seule chose, j'ai pas. Non, excusez, attends. Okay, I haven't opened up the. Was it the Berkeley? The
Bessler?
No, not the best. No, not Bessler. It's Berkey. I haven't opened up the Berkey yet, but I have 2. I cannot remember. It starts with an M. Meoptra? Meoptra?
Yeah, it's MEOPTA.
Yes, that one there. I have 2 of those. Both of those are slides to go from 35 to 6x6 to 6x6.
Yeah.
So I could do 645, 6x6.
Yeah.
I think I can actually do up to 6x7.
C'est bon.
Yeah.
Nice setup. Nice setup.
Right. Fait que, see, guys, I'm telling you, man, we're gonna have a blast this summer.
Bon, mais
My
AJ,
kids can't wait. My son cannot wait to see what it is to develop an actual print.
Bon, mais AJ, commence à faire un recensement de tes amis pour savoir les corps de métier qui sont disponibles en information, puis tu vas pouvoir fonctionner ça comme il faut.
Ouais.
Ah oui, c'est ça. Puis if you want an experienced guy to help you.
Of course. Oh, no, of course, of course, of course.
I mean,
Yeah.
I know
And who
somebody-
knows, maybe in
I know
in a
somebody.
year from now, 2 years from now, it'll become a community darkroom where, hey, listen,
Yeah.
see? I mean,
Ça
chemicals
fait
and
de
whatever,
l'allure.
time and stuff like that you want. And maybe I can even, hell, I'll be able to start teaching
Well,
film
you can
photography.
teach it, you can rent it out, you can do all kinds of stuff.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, c'est bon. C'est bon.
See?
People
The one that I'm missing is the 4x5. That one I just got to pick it up in Montreal.
Oh, somebody offered one, but you need to go pick it up.
Well, there's one guy in Montreal that he has two 4x5s. One is missing a lens. And he's letting it go for nothing. He's letting it go for $150.
Ouais, c'est ça.
See? Ça fait du 35, du 120 et du 4x5.
Whoa.
And if that's the case, then I won't even have to be doing the reverse positive for the glass plate, because the glass plate will fit in the 4x5 as a negative.
Yeah.
See? But my next step right now is right after Christmas, right after next weekend, there is to do I have to rent some time at Uncle Bob's studio, and we have a few tests to do on glass plate.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. And I don't charge much for being a model,
Yeah, there you go. There you go. We already said we were going to be doing this a musical photo shoot, so there you go.
Ah oui, c'est ça, c'est ça.
Avec les guitares.
Ah oui.
Right?
So, no problem. That's anytime.
A glass plate, we're talking like 2 ISO.
Yeah, I'm eager to see that. You've been talking about it for the past few weeks, and
Well, we also did we also had when was we say Luco was in March?
yes,
En
March
mars que
6th.
je vais faire là, yeah. So I'm giving myself about a month and a half, and then we're gonna do an actual development session of the glass plate.
Nice.
Because the glass plate, the beautiful thing about the glass plate, specifically from the guy that I get from Slovenia, his glass plate is not sensitive to red light.
Oh, okay. So you can have a red safe
A safe light, exactly. And with
Those
the kit that I
those
have, I've got
headlamps.
3.
You have those headlamps, those red headlights.
But with the dark rooms that I received, I've already got three safe lights, portable safe lights that you just plug into the wall. I think we lost Mark. Yeah. How are we doing here? We guys. I just realized I will say thank yous very much for participating in our last live session for the 2023. Exactly. I personally wish yous all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I'll post the next one. It'll probably be like the second weekend or whatever weekend that I'm off in January after the New Year. And we could get together again if you have any topics. And anybody out there who has any questions, by the way, I keep forgetting to publicize it, but si jamais vous avez des questions en photographie, j'ai créé un courriel, which is photo questions, plural, at andrew-james.ca. Photo question, pluriel, a commercial, andrew-james.ca if you have any questions that you'd like me to answer on, and the Facebook group's going to become more active also. I've been saying it up for a year and a half now, but now that I'm making more time for photography, for my for the family, for everything, if you have questions, please post them or send them to me. You can reach me on Instagram at andrew.james.photography. That's now becoming my strictly photography Instagram. And you always have Facebook. You can catch me at AJ Gentile. So I want to thank everybody. Uncle Bob, thank you for
A lot of fun. A lot of fun.
you know, your time and everything.
That's right.
Mark, you too. Luco, it's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Ouais.
And Melina, thank you so much for being with us.
Grazie mille.
Grazie mille, parli italiano anche io.
Sì, sono italiano.
Yes, italiano.
You see the background? Where's this?
Is that one of your shots? I wanted to ask you. Was
No,
that
no,
one
no,
of
no,
your...
no, no.
No?
No, it's actually a shot I'm hoping to take one day. It's actually taken from Rome. That's
Okay.
the Colosseum, and in the back, it's a composite of a lunar eclipse.
That's right. And as a matter of fact, don't forget, next year, April 8th, is our lunar eclipse.
The
You're
solar,
going to be able to see 98% of it. Oh, sorry, solar eclipse. You're right, the solar eclipse. And we're going to be able to see 98% of it here in Montreal.
Yeah.
That's right.
If there's no clouds.
If there's no clouds,
There's no
yes.
clouds.
And see, in my day, when there was a solar eclipse, we used to take color negative film and
Put it in front of your eyes. That's right.
cover
That's
their
right.
eyes. So, you know, and you could like just see this little spot go across.
Exactly. Exactly.
So the credit for this photograph is Gianluca Mazzi. He's an Italian astronomer,
Okay.
and he's the one who started the Virtual Telescope project. I don't know if
Which one?
I'm not sure. It's a Virtual Telescope project. I'm not sure exactly the URL of it, but I think you can book time on robotic telescopes and
Yes.
stargaze from virtually.
Yeah.
So I think he has some sessions, and sometimes he broadcasts eclipses and things like that, and takes photographs of them.
Okay. And speaking of projects, I forgot to mention one of the projects that I'm going to start up for myself in January is I don't know if you ever heard of the Frugal Film Project. It's a project that was started in 2018, and it's a project that lasts the year. The idea is that you use the cheapest camera you have, and you pick the
Okay.
cheapest film. You get 12 rolls of 36, and you shoot one roll per month. There's a Facebook group, there's a website, and you submit your photos, and they'll make an album of the group. And the idea is that you would make your album with your 12 rolls of 36 if you want to. So that's gonna be one of my other projects that and I'm actually going to be, I don't know if you see it, I'm going to be using my Minolta Highmatic 7.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
And
Is
I'm
that the
gonna,
one I know, AJ?
yeah, is this the one? Did you try this one? I forget. Yeah, I think this is the one
yeah,
you
I think-
tried.
Is that the only one you have?
No, I have another one up here too.
But I think it was the iMatic 7 you shared. You
Yeah.
lent me.
Okay.
Does
And-
the meter work on it?
This one, the meter works. Yes.
Meter work. Lucky guy, man.
Yeah. That one, the meter works. As a matter of fact, this one here, I got it off a buddy of mine who used to work at the Laval store, Gaetan Cormier. And I'm going to be using, as far as film, Kentmar Pan 400.
Nice.
And what I have left in that bulk winder there from 1982 or 83, I think, I forget, which was I believe I'm actually going to develop it tomorrow. I did 2 test rolls of about 12 shots, and I'm pretty sure that was HP5 because that was the one that I was using at the time. Yeah. Okay. And it's been a while that I'm gonna throw it in here, and it's a nice little camera.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's a little bit more than a point and shoot, but
I got one there.
Yeah.
C'est bon.
So I wish you guys all a wonderful evening, a wonderful weekend.
Same to you.
Again,
Nice
Merry
night,
Christmas.
everybody. Have a good
Merry
Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yep.
Yep.
Buon Noel.
Holidays.
Buon Natale.
Buon
Buon
Natale.
Natale, grazie anche a tutti quanti.
And we'll see you all in the new year.
Buon Capodanno.
Buon Capodanno, sì.
For Capodanno, yeah.
Panettone, castagne, prosecco, mezzanotte.
All right, guys.
Take care, all.
Take care.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.